This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
Welcome back to the Oakwyn Podcast. We have a very special guest today, Brandon Crichton. Hello, Brandon.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, from one of our Oakwyn agents, an amazing top producer, but also one of the founders of Reach CRM. Brandon, how you doing today?
I am good. It's sunny out for the first time, so
yeah,
quite
totally.
happy. You can't see it in this room, but
yeah,
we're looking forward to it.
Right, we're used to the windowless rooms here.
It's just easier to control the light.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for joining us. I know, Brandon, you mentioned it is spring break, and you mentioned that you were going to go camping.
Hit Whistler, family. Come on, the fresh powder's falling
really?
up
Okay.
there. So we'll get the trailer ready and get up there. But happy to make those plans change to be live here, I guess.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you have a happy family waiting for you. This podcast to be. Yeah.
Yes.
How many kids do you have, Brandon?
I got 2 kids, but in the real estate game, it's always about juggling these tasks that come up every once in a while.
Totally.
Well, I shouldn't say every once in a while. It's like every 10 minutes. And so you're constantly moving and jiving and shaking. And my family's used to that.
Right.
They're used to the crazy, hectic life of a real estate agent as a parent. And my wife fully understands it. And my kids now just know, like, Dad's doing something, we're going to shift the plans.
Oh, that's great. Did you come from an entrepreneurial family, Brandon?
No. My mother was a real estate agent, though.
Oh, okay.
So I can say yes, maybe.
So runs in the family?
Maybe runs in the family, yeah.
Right.
I grew up in Ontario.
Oh, okay.
And I came out here in 2007.
Right. Why'd you come out here, for real estate or for school?
No, I was a professional bike racer in my former career. And coming out here for the mountains, the weather, and I shifted university out here. So I transferred from McMaster University in Hamilton, doing my business there. I transferred out to UBC just to be closer to the amazingness of the West Coast.
So tell us more about the bike. When did you start? Is it mountain biking?
Oh man, I grew up tinkering at the age of 12, 14 with bikes. And got into racing when I was very, very young.
Yeah?
And
not Tour de France style.
It came to that. So I was living when I turned 20. Oh gosh, 20. I was living in Europe. I was living in a French house provided by the national team, and I was racing full national team stuff, doing all the younger events that the Tour de France guys were doing at that point. I got to race with Lance Armstrong a few times back then. So it was
What was he like?
Super solid. Everybody's the camaraderie inside what's called the peloton, the group of riders is.
That's where the peloton bike comes from.
That's where the peloton bike comes from.
The
big group of the big pack. And so it was amazing. It gave me a great opportunity you got your school paid for by the Canadian government, and you were exposed to so much worldwide. I traveled. Gosh, many, many countries at a young age.
Gee, wow. So did you always want to be competitive? Did you have a knack for it, or was it more like...
Yeah, I think so. I had an older brother who was very competitive, and as a younger one, I always had to keep up with him. So competition was always among the two of us. And translated into cycling. My brother was a professional runner, I should say. And so we both headed that way.
Oh, wow. So did you ever bike for Team Canada? Or
I did, yeah. I raced 3 world championships for Team Canada.
Oh my gosh.
And then that transitioned, coming out of university, into me being employed in the bicycle industry. I was a global product manager for some of the largest bike companies in the world.
Wow.
I was traveling back and forth when I retired racing. I was traveling back and forth to Asia, Taiwan, Europe. I was all over the place for from 2010 onward until I transitioned into real estate in 2015. So did 5 years living on an airplane, which was, looking back, was amazing. And the time, it was wild. Being adjusted to different time zones, being into factories in southern China at the age of probably 25 back then.
Wow. So you ended your biking journey a little bit on the earlier side, or was that? Was there a reason for that?
Gosh, we could spend a 3-hour podcast just talking about the cycling industry, right?
I was expecting.
No, well, there was a few of those that really put a question mark. Traveling is hard on relationships and family and everything, and there was also just the routine of always doing the same thing every year. I had set plans on riding this and nutrition this, and eventually it just became kind of boring to me.
Really?
Yeah.
So you lost the passion for it.
Lost the passion, and it took about 5 to 6 more years after that to regain passion again for just simply biking, just simply
Really?
riding. And so that's what I experience now. I get to do that with my kids, and
Yeah.
they eat, sleep, breathe outdoor sports, which
Really?
as a proud dad, I could want nothing more than that.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. So, you always hear about this like athlete's dilemma after they kind of finish like their sport,
Yeah.
and they have like this huge purpose, like this competitive drive. And then afterwards, they kind of like gain 200 pounds. Or
Oh,
they
yeah.
Or
become
the
like
depression thing.
or they go into depression, or they go
100%.
into like gambling addiction, or they hit the wall
100%.
hard.
Yeah.
100%. And the governing bodies that govern all these national sports have things in place nowadays to support that transition of an athlete.
Okay.
I don't think they had much of it, I'll say back then,
Right.
15 years ago. But you definitely experience it. It's 2 to 3 to 4 years of just like lost. You're used to,
Structure.
when you're performing at that high level, you've also got tons of support staff that do everything for you. And you look
Yeah.
at any professional sport as like, yeah, your meals are prepared for, your flight plans, your hotel accommodations,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you
Like
got none of
Morgan's
that.
life.
There you go. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity, and then you readjust, right? And some people don't, and some people do, and you find your way. Now, you talk about that, like doing what you love.
Mhm.
I loved bikes. Bicycling was my life.
What did you love about it the most?
I have no idea. I think the openness, you no matter where you get on a bike, it can take you anywhere in the world,
Mm.
right? You can start pedaling from your house and be lost. And me as a younger kid, we can get really deeply rooted here, and it probably transitions into real estate world really well,
Mhm.
is, you've got a bunch of energy. What do you do with it,
Mm.
right? And so cycling to me was like my escape, my out. Right? It's like, it was my one time I could be with my thoughts and be riding for
Right.
hours, especially as a young kid, right? It was like, but for me, that passion didn't really translate into do what you love. And what is the saying? Like, do what you love for
And
work.
you'll never work a day in
you'll
your
never
life.
work a day in life.
Yeah.
That was not the case. Like, I
Okay.
loved bikes and working in the bike industry. It was too much always around you.
Right.
And so it was a short stint.
Yeah.
And then I fell into real estate.
Okay. How'd you fall into real estate, Brandon?
How did I fall into real estate? There was a point, I'll be honest. This is a podcast. I should be honest because people will hear this.
Sure. Fact check.
I, like 99% of us out there, us being realtors, I was promised in my head that this would be an easy way to make a lot of money and I
Wow.
could live that life of freedom,
Okay.
right?
Work-life balance.
Work-life balance. Gosh, you'd work a little bit, get these huge paychecks, and you could play all day long.
Right.
I was aware of the rude awakening within probably the first year, maybe year and a half,
Mhm.
right? As to how much time, commitment, whether it's mental energy or physical energy would
Right.
be required for this. So how did I get into real estate goes back to, I just remember sitting in that corporate life, traveling, just saying like, enough is enough. I need
Working with the bike.
working in the bike industry, right? Is like, again, great people in there, but I always felt like I was being managed and I didn't have the full, ownership of my life.
Right.
Right. And so
So you're in a
real
large organization.
large organization, lots of reporting, lots of having to do certain things. And again, just maybe going back to wanting to be my own boss,
Right.
be in control of yourself, be in
Mhm.
control of your schedule, be in control of your final outcomes.
Right.
And aside from my mother being in real estate, I don't know any other reason as to why I got into
Mhm.
it other than that and, this promise of this freedom,
Right.
right? And I would say to today, and I tell any agent, I don't know if we're jumping around in questions here, but tell any agent that I meet that's starting out new, say this is the reality. You can be in control of your whole schedule.
Right.
It's just going to be a lot of work,
Mhm.
right? And you, like I'm here today, you mix and you jive and you move
Sure.
schedules around.
Yeah.
And that's truly what I've really loved about the real estate world.
Right. And no 2 days are the same, right?
No 2 days, no 2 hours.
Yeah. Right.
I'll remember there was a Kiwi that
The fruit
was
or the person?
the person. The
Okay,
person.
yeah.
There was a Kiwi
Okay.
in the first couple months when I got into real estate
Right.
that took me around to some open houses, and he said, "Mate, it's a roller coaster. It's going to be ups and downs every day, every week."
Right.
And and that might have been a poor accent. Maybe that was more
No, that was
Australian.
good,
but
yeah.
every day, every week, every month depends where
Crocodile
you're
Dundee just
on.
entered.
you're in the highs and the
Right,
lows,
yeah.
right? And that's
This is a
gosh.
knife.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a different country, Mike.
Oh, is that? What's Kiwi? I thought
New
Kiwi was
Zealand.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay,
So-
so
And I don't
yeah,
think you're allowed
Peter
to mix the
Jackson.
two. I don't think you're allowed
Yeah,
to mix.
okay, got it.
So yeah, that's
That's fantastic. So tell us about the first year in the business. So a bit of a rude awakening. You kind of had this expectation that it was going to be a career where you could just print money and go on vacation and go happy hour every day.
yeah. Look, my first year was when I started real estate. Within the first couple weeks, we found out that my wife and I, she was pregnant with our first.
Right.
And you go from, wow, this is awesome, to holy crap, how am I going to survive?
Sure.
Right. And so it just, that first year, 2 years, 3 years, those first 3 years were a grind.
Okay.
Right. And any agent out here listening to this right now can probably quickly remember their first couple of years where, maybe if you're lucky, you're getting given a couple opportunities here
Right.
and there from some mentors or people that you know in the industry. And I was fortunate to have that. I had a few opportunities that, not monetarily, but I could, I had a great mentorship program of two of what I would say some of the top agents on the North Shore.
Great.
It took me under their wing, and exposed me to these scenarios in real estate that, gosh, I look back, like huge learning lessons, right? How to speak to people, how to meet with sellers, how to engage with buyers, and what is the process, right? You come into this industry pretty freaking green, right?
So you got to see behind the curtain a little bit.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah. So it wasn't like monetary, but really like experiential.
Experiential.
Right.
Yeah. I can remember, gives me goosebumps looking back to I remember waking up at 5 a.m. just like freaking out, going, how am I going to make ends meet? And how am I going to get more clients, right? How am I going to engage with people? How am I going to make them want to be and work with me?
Right.
Right. I'd be at the office, first person into the office, last person out of the office.
Right.
Right. And that was just because I would be absorbing everything in the office all day long about, hey, how did you do this? Hey, how did you do that?
Right.
Hey, why do you do this? To today is kind of the same principles, right? I'm an office person.
Sure.
I think there's two types of agents. You either work in your house, right? And you can manage it that way, or you can be in the office.
Right.
And I've always found value in being in the office.
Yeah.
Be in an office where there's 10, 15, 20 like-minded types of agents that you can bounce and absorb, get information from.
Right. That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the trajectory, Brandon. So first year, what was and how many years is it now for you?
So gosh, this is going on probably year 11. I think I started in 2014. So yeah, we're almost year 11.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, and I'm a data guy. I love tracking things.
Okay.
From my previous roles as a product manager, where I have spreadsheets of every bicycle part and who made it, and that was just part of the job. That's transitioned really well into real estate in the sense that I track everything of my own, of the data in the market.
Right.
I like to know that information. From day one, I've always tracked my income, my expenses, what's working, what's not. I know that I lost a ton of money year one. I lost a little bit less year two.
Right.
And that year 3 was that break even. And then year 4 and 5 was kind of where things kind of really started to pick up.
Wow.
And I remember those mentors saying hey, just hang in there for 5 years. You need to get your feet wet for 5 years, right? Just keep absorbing. It'll happen. Those first 3 years, you're sweating every day going, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen.
It's better happen.
It better happen. It better happen. I'm holding you to it.
Right.
But that was it. Right.
Wow, that's incredible.
Get your 5 years under your belt. And that's 5 years of being active every day.
Yeah.
Right. This is not a part-time industry. This is a full-time industry.
So when you say you track everything, what methods do you use then, and what methods are you using now?
Yeah, that's a great question. It kind of leads to CRM world.
Right.
It's
We'll get into that.
Look, I tracked
know more
everything.
about Brandon first?
Yeah. This is really about having a system from day one.
Mhm.
Whether your system is writing things down and making
Right.
sure you don't lose that book or lose that piece of paper,
Mhm.
or whether it's tracking it in good old Microsoft Excel,
Right.
right? And that's what I was using. Microsoft Excel. Okay. How do I track what I'm doing today? What am I spending today?
Right.
Right? What does real estate cost? Okay, I've got my car payments. I've got my office expenses,
So
my
you
mortgage.
mixed personal expenses and professional kind of together.
In those first couple of years,
Yeah.
because you're trying to, decide what you want to do. And this
Right.
is about whether you become a prec or whether you stay
Sure.
as a soul. And
Right.
okay, what is this going to cost me? But
Right.
yeah, what am I spending on gas? How much? Does it make sense for me to drive up to Whistler to show a house?
Mm-hmm.
Is that even feasible?
Right.
Why am I doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it cost me more to drive across the bridge? Those kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Client gifts, all that kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
That is all business building expenses.
So did you have that habit formed when you were racing? Or was it
never racing because everything was taken care of.
Right. Okay.
Right? It was really about being in the corporate world, about
Okay.
like having to have reports on things. Hey,
Right.
what are we doing for this segment and this segment of the product market?
Sure.
That just naturally moved into real estate where it's like, hey, I got to be accountable to somebody and that's to me.
Right.
Right? I need to know where these things are going.
Right.
Or my wife might ask me, right? And I got to give her a good answer.
Yeah. So Brandon, you're one of our top producers at Oakwyn, which we love working with you. And so tell us some of the things from the trajectory perspective, some of the changes and adjustments you made to get from losing money in the first year to like that break even, and then that break even to like breaking through.
That's a great question. I think there's many. Well, I shouldn't say I think there is many ways to get to that breakthrough point. But I think you've got to have a deep commitment to yourself as a real estate agent to say, okay, what am I doing? What value do I provide the clients?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I keep doing that? Right. And so for me, it was always it was about knowledge of the market. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure that I'm the top of game every single day. When a client calls me and asks me about the market
Mm-hmm.
or asks me about some product on the market, I need to be able to respond to that.
Sure.
Not with let me get back to you.
Right.
Right? I need to be able and confidently be able to respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something I learned probably in year 1,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2, where it's like, hey, I got to study this market every day.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be looking at the MLS system. I got to be pulling reports. I got to be understanding, why did this sell for this?
Mm-hmm.
And I've told other agents that have come into the office, the newer agents that have joined, I said, look, knowledge trumps everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the most amount of bus shelter ads. You can host the most amount of open houses. But if you're relying on just handing people MLS sheets,
Right.
people want value, especially in today's world,
Sure.
right? Where people can grab all that information at the click of a few buttons on their
Mhm.
computer.
It's like how it's being interpreted.
How is it being interpreted? What
Mhm.
are you seeing, right? Like, and why did this property sell for this much?
Mhm.
Why did this property sell for this much? Right? And even with today's open information, we've got buyers and sellers calling saying, hey, can I get this for my house?
Mhm.
And I need to be able to quickly say that as
Right.
to yes, you can, no, you can't, here's why not.
Mhm.
Without hey, let me get back to you in 48 hours. And then
Mhm.
you're constantly kind of
Right.
put together a story in the background, right? While
Yeah.
that customer or client is wondering what's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Or
it's
calling someone else.
Or calling somebody
Right.
else. Or
Yeah.
calling somebody else, right? You need to be the trusted source.
Right. And having that depth of knowledge is, obviously such an asset to have. And so is it just the MLS, or what other sources of data are you using as kind of to come up with your...
I think the MLS is very powerful depending on how you use it, right? And I think some agents can rely on kind of the data center, market stats
the
there.
stat center.
The stat center,
Right.
great source. Others, when you start exporting data out of the MLS,
Mhm.
that's where things can get really intricate. And so, in my first year or 2 years in, I had a very good friend that was a data analysis.
Mhm.
And he helped me build a spreadsheet that I remember this. I don't use it anymore and I probably should, or maybe it's just all baked in my head here.
Mhm.
I could export every condo sale in North Vancouver.
Right.
I could import it into this data set in Excel.
Mhm.
And I could run what's called a macro. I could push a button.
Right.
Okay. And that would break things out into Lower Lonsdale, Central Lonsdale, Canyon Heights, all the micro markets of North Van. That's predominantly my area. Right. And I could know what the price of wood, what the price of concrete condos would sell for. I could break those into kind of south views versus northern views. That was something I wanted to own in my first couple of years, was the condo market. Right. Put me in an open house. I will spew knowledge like it's going out of style. And maybe that will attract 3 to 4 people. Right. That was my goal. That was how my business was built.
Right. Oh, so it was built on...
It was built in condo world.
Condo world, data backed, but doing open houses to be able to meet prospective clients that way.
Yep.
Wow, that's incredible.
I could get, I was thankful enough to have, and some of the clients I work with today were fresh clients back then, 10 years ago, right? I can remember a couple of them come into my open house and they would point from a balcony. What do you think? Like, we just came from an open house over in that building. Right. I would know the building name. I would study the depreciation reports. I would pull all the strata documents. Again, oh my God, this is bringing up memories. I had a spreadsheet with every building name in Lower Lonsdale. And I would go through those strata documents and I would highlight what are the bylaws, what is the contingency reserve fund, and I would keep that updated so that, right? If somebody came in, I would say, hey, yeah, that's a great building, but here, this is why this building's great, right? And so I'd be able to differentiate myself.
Right. That is certainly, like, if you're in the shoes of a buyer or a seller, that's exactly what you want your agent to be doing, to have that kind of knowledge base and that deep interest and appreciation for properties, and being able to take that data and interpret it for their benefit, so that you can recognize when a property is underpriced, you can recognize when a property is overpriced, and you have some some facts to be able to back up your arguments. So that's incredible, Brandon. You're one of our core values here at Oakwyn is to be a real estate nerd.
Oh yeah, I can go deep in nerd. I appreciate that.
Right.
Be humble, be nerdy.
Be nerdy.
Yeah. So, obviously you've interpreted a lot of data, you've done some, and that kind of leads us to this CRM, Reach CRM, which you founded. So can you tell us the story behind why you founded Reach CRM?
Yeah, I can remember the day sitting in Lower Lonsdale with my business partner and other co-founder, Cam Walker, who's also an Oakwyn agent. Yes. We were having a coffee. I barely knew him other than the sense that we were both young guys in real estate.
Right.
Both kind of working in that Lonsdale corridor and condo market. And we were having a coffee. He asked me, what do I use to track my clients? We started talking about certain softwares back then, and the cumbersomeness of a lot of these products, these CRMs. A lot of them are American-based, and they kind of shoehorn the Canadian market into, hey, we'll use this, even though the terms don't match up, and we don't go into escrow, and we don't have all these other components like we do in the Canadian, and I would say the BC marketplace.
Right.
We both kind of had the aha moment of, let's build it. Right? This is going to be a great idea. And little did we know that was 5 years ago. And gosh, it was a roller coaster. You think real estate's tough to get into? This CRM world and building, tech. Everybody says you meet somebody who's done well in tech and like, oh, it must have been easier. Wow, look what you did. I tell you, the ups and downs, there's more downs than there are up.
Right.
We went through many different painful moments. Getting to a product that we're at today, 5 years later, or should I say 4 years later, that a lot of agents are relying on. Nowadays. So yeah, it's been, I don't know how deep you want to go into development world of it, but it's, we had outsourced contractors that would try and build us a component. And I'll go back to like my product days in the bicycle world. It was very similar in the sense that we would design something in our heads, put it on paper, hand it to somebody to build, and what you got back was nothing like what you asked for. And I used to, in bicycle world, I remember I was a product manager for one of the categories was helmet production. So we'd go down to the US and design these clay models like they do with cars, right? We'd do clay model helmets. We'd ship those off to our Asia partners in southern China, where they would produce. And I would get back then it was Skype. We didn't have Zoom. I'd get a Skype call at 2 a.m, which is Asia, like noontime. And we'd be doing revisions of this helmet and the product would not look anything like that. So I'd get a call from the boss. Next day later, I'm flying over to China, right?
Right.
With these clay models. And it was back and forth and back and
Yeah.
forth and back and forth. And that's pretty common in tech. You know,
Right.
the hotels I'd stay at in Bicycle World in Southern Asia or Taiwan, we'd have all the Apple guys there and any other tech software. And they were all experiences of the same issues
Right.
and same problems. It's a communication issue and it's lost in translation.
Right.
And so that's leading me to the point of where we had a lot of outside contractors helping us build this program to the point where we said, you know what, we just need an inside guy.
Right.
We need to bring somebody into the family. So now there's 3 co-founders and that one is incredibly essential. That is our chief technical officer. And he has become very familiar with real estate now through us. And, you know, with Reach, what we find from our customers and what we are really our core value is like Cam and I are active agents. We understand the issues that these agents are coming to us with, right? I'm sure we'll get into it with some of your questions here as to like, what are the questions these agents have, or what are, you know, what is it like you're a new agent getting into a CRM? You know, we can talk about all that, but it's getting the program to where it is today has been
an evolution.
Right.
So, you know, just bring us back to day one where, you know, you're looking at the CRM landscape, specifically real estate CRMs, because it's, you know, it's such a different, like I know some agents use like just a general sales CRM for their real estate purposes.
HubSpot or like one of those.
HubSpot or something kind of. So like, tell us about the landscape and what you felt was missing in that kind of ecosystem.
When we first started building Reach, what we found wasn't there was something for, let's call it like the ma and pa shop, the individual agent. Hey, what can I start tomorrow? Actually open up and use.
Right.
Because a lot of agents, and I'm sure there's 50% of them listening to this podcast right now, is I have a system. Oh, but I never open it up and use it.
Right.
Right. Or somebody else does, or they're not, you know, they're paying for this system and they're not using it. There's a lot of systems out there, whether it's CRM, whether it's any other software tool that a real estate agent wants to use. You look at your monthly statement, I'm sure you're paying for 3 or 4 things that you are not using, right? I've got a subscription to Adobe and I have to remind myself like, oh crap, I have a subscription. I'm paying $90 a month for this. Like I haven't used it in 4 months.
Right.
We found early on, there was no system that was small enough that an individual agent could start using it. Hey, I just want to track my people, right? Because look, you can be really diligent in Microsoft Excel. I find up to about 50 contacts, you can kind of manage those well in Microsoft Word or your phone, you know, or in your head. Right. This is a lot to do with today's real estate agent, is it's all in their head, right? Whether they're an individual agent or a team. It's all baked up here and you got to get it somewhere where you can see it and play with it. And so, again, we started down this path of let's create simplified system that somebody like my mother, who's in her early 70s, can physically open it up on her phone and know what she's doing. Because tech gets scary for a lot of people.
Right.
And that's still part of our ethos today, but it's grown a lot. And we've learned a lot ourselves as agents. The industry has changed a lot after COVID. The information that the public has changed. And so it's grown and evolved to I hate the name CRM. It shoehorns us all into this like, oh yeah, I need more leads, manage my CRM.
Yeah.
You know, what Reach has really evolved to today.
It's like crime CRM.
Totally. And it's like,
it's been negative.
It's a management tool for your business.
Right.
If you are a real estate agent, rather than having 5 or 6 programs, have one. We've built Reach to be, hey, this is what we use for everything. When I wake up in the morning, I check Reach. It's telling me what I need to do.
Sure.
That's task management and everything. Okay, some of this stuff is automated. It's a guiding tool for me. I don't do anything in real estate without putting it through my, say, management system.
And, you know, it gives you the ease of being able to have a simplified platform to be able to track everything and see what's working, what's not working. But can you give Brandon? Obviously, can you give us a story from an agent? That you've been working with at Reach for a few years and how it's positively impacted their business.
Yeah, I mean, without getting into names, obviously, I would say we've heard from agents. This is our fantastic moments when we get response backs, when we get emails back from agents. And look, we've grown substantially in the last couple of years to the island, to the Fraser Valley, into Kelowna, up to Whistler. Tons of agents optimizing and using Reach CRM at Whistler. A lot of these seasoned agents, agents that have been doing this longer than I have, working with them to get their systems dialed and then hearing immediate responses of like, holy crap, here's what just happened. And they'll outline a story of, hey, met a client, put them into the system, was able to delegate it to a teammate, watch that teammate handle them because I've got full transparency of that, turn that into a transaction. And guys, you made it so easy, right? We're not having to have 7 different programs open. See, that's probably the number one piece of feedback we keep getting from agents is, oh my God, it's easy. We can tell real estate agents have built this, right? So that's been incredibly beneficial. Just 2 days ago, agent in our office was demonstrating and showing how they're able to acquire more contacts, more clients. Hate the word lead generation, so I'm not going to say it any more than that first time. Able to acquire new contacts from an open house by simply using what's called our info packs, right? Sharing information quickly and efficiently to people coming into your open house, able to retain some of their information at their permission, and converting those people into clients that you can work with seamlessly. I've heard multiple times through feedback of like, holy crap, hey guys, just wanted to let you know, like, I just got 2 people from my open house with this new program you launched. Like, thank you so much. It's amazing for Cav and I to hear. And we've been preaching that. We're like, here's how you can use the system.
So info packs, what are info packs?
Info packs are probably our number one feature right now.
Yeah.
And we find, again, whether you're seasoned or whether you're a brand new agent, people coming into your open house, I would say the least effort you could do is print an MLS sheet and hand it to them. Okay, great. Where does that go from there? Right? Unless you're like pushing a business card down their throat saying like,
you don't have their contacts.
Or you're chasing them saying, what about your phone number? Right? I feel like that's a poor connection with a customer at that point, right? Nobody likes the car salesman, right? That keeps phoning you and phoning you and phoning you. If you can provide them value, whether it's that knowledge piece that you're communicating with or this other level of what we call the info pack. Customer comes into the open house, Reach generates you a QR code that allows most people know what to do, right? Scan the QR code, fill out a little bit of information, and then have a peek behind the curtains on that listing.
Right.
Where let's just say I'm the seller, I'm the listing agent of a seller. I spend about 30 minutes building my info pack for a property I have in Edgemont Boulevard. Hey, I've gone in and I've discussed, I've typed out, hey, what is my preferred dates? What is all included in the items? What's the tenant paying? And is there any special notes to that tenant? And you can control the sensitivity of what information is shared with the public versus another buyer's agent. But I can easily and quickly disseminate that information. And I find rather than just a buyer walking away with a beautiful brochure that I just spent $5 on and they get in their car and they use it as a floor mat because they don't want to get their carpet wet. This is value to the seller as well because I can show to the seller how many people have logged into that info pack, how many people have viewed that data, right? I know who they are. I can follow up with them immediately after the open house to see if they have any additional questions.
So you get their contact information.
You get their contact information.
And you get that data.
You get that data. I can see that like 8 people have scanned and come into my info pack for Edgemont Boulevard, we'll say, right? And if somebody's, I find some people have customers that walk into your open house fill out with a pen like their open house sheet.
Yeah.
Look, I tell my buyers, I'm like, don't fill that out. Right? You're getting nothing out of that. You're just giving stuff away.
Right.
Unless they're going to give you a chocolate bar, like don't fill it out. If they're giving you a chocolate bar, fill it out. Take the chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Right. In this case, you're giving the chocolate bar.
Yeah.
You're giving them information that they don't have to then call their agent
Sure.
and say, hey, can you please get and we're all just wasting each other's time, right? Give them what they need.
Right.
If somebody doesn't want to fill out that information, I say, look, fill out your agent's information. At least I know who has come to my open house and who I can follow up with.
Right.
And that's beneficial.
So I was going to ask, can you see how many times a certain person has opened that info package?
Great question. Not at this point, coming very soon.
Right.
That would be if somebody's getting like super hot on one property to be able to follow up with that buyer.
Yeah, we're really cognizant on privacy and making sure that we tell people what we're tracking.
Sure.
Right? I can count when that was received and when it was sent, but in terms of the amount of repetition opens, not yet.
Well, I think that that's such a great solve for one of the primary issues with running an open house, for example, is kind of trading contact information with your prospective clients and also tracking the activity. These info packs seem like a perfect kind of value add way of being able to present a unique value proposition for your sellers, but also for your own business, because you'll be able to get people's contact information, give you an avenue to follow up with them. Those clients have a different experience with you versus another agent, because another agent handing a sheet that's very much losable versus you having that link that you can be able to access for information in the future. I think that's such a great solve from an open house perspective and a really cool feature. So let's say I'm a new agent. Let's say I'm brand new to the business. And I probably have less than 50 contacts. Like, how does Reach help me get started?
Yeah. Look, if you're a brand new agent, there's no better time than to start your process. Doing it 5-10 years down the road of changing a system and then systematizing your life is really hard on a lot of agents. Right? Because they get in this process driven, okay, what do I do? What do I do? Breaking those habits 5 years down the road. Again, I see it daily when I'm doing demonstrations to other agents, right? They want to change, but it's so over. It's just too much work at that point to change. So if you're starting out, start out on a good path.
Right.
Have a system, whether it's Reach or some other system. Have a system, right? And so yes, it becomes beneficial. Like, for myself, if I remember those first years, it's like when I started out, okay, who are my people? Where is my sphere? Right? I need to get that into something. Who are all my friends on Facebook? Who are all my friends following me on social? Who are my cycling buddies? Who are people that I would ask to go for a coffee? Start putting those people somewhere, right? That's your first tier of contacts,
right?
From there you build out.
The base.
So your A's, your B's, your C's, right? Where are all your people's at? So
sounds like a rap song. Where are my people's at?
100%.
Nailed it.
So having a system day one, and there's been numerous coaches and things that always tell agents, get a CRM system. Start at day one. Start the habits of opening things up. Look, it's a lot easier if Derek calls me, a new contact that I met at an open house, and I save him to my iPhone, and maybe I write a sticky note and I put it on the front of my laptop so that I don't forget to call Derek. 9 times out of 10, I'm probably forgetting to call Derek because he's buried in my phone somewhere.
Right.
Unless I've emailed myself to say, hey, don't forget to call Derek, right? And I don't delete that email. Those are great until they're not, right? Those are great if you're dealing with 1 or 2 people and you got nothing else on your mind.
Right.
Once you can start systematizing from day one, put Derek into your CRM, set a reminder to call Derek 3 days after you've added him to your database.
Right.
So that after that Saturday open house, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you've got a nice task waiting for you, screaming at you saying, call Derek. Who the hell's Derek? Oh, I also put Derek in my notes to Derek. I said, met him at this open house.
Sure.
And he had a dog named Rex. I don't know, some cool piece that you got to remember these people, right?
Yeah. And you'll be, in kind of speaking about the notes section, which I think is the most because you can put the random stuff that people will connect you with someone and build rapport with them immediately. Like the dog's name is Rex, or wife is pregnant, these types of little things oh, how's your wife doing? She must be 6 months now. Those types of things, really go a long way to break through, a rapport and a trust barrier so that they can kind of just be okay, well, Brandon or Braden is my buddy. Like they're not really like this isn't a sales call type of thing. So those things are really handy.
Or if it's a sales call, you can be really salesy, or you can be strategically salesy. Where I find clients appreciate, right? Like I just got a text message from the Land Rover dealership. I've got an older Land Rover, and we do service all the time. This is the first time. It said, "Hey, it's been 6 months since we saw you last. Confirm that your mileage is this." I was like, "Oh, it's really cool." Like.
Right.
It's not, "Hey, we've got an oil change on discount. Call now for 50% off." Or something. It was like, wow, this system tracks me, right? And yeah, I do need an oil change. I thought that was really, really strategic.
Right.
One that I want to respond to. They
Totally.
know who I am. They treat me more than just a number,
Yeah.
right? Kim, I know where Kim was last in my contact database. I know what I showed Kim. I know some of her feedback on some of these showings. So when I get out of the car, I open up my CRM system, I click on Kim, and I have her whole database, right? Of what I've done, what notes I've made. And yeah, it's a lot of work for me to maintain my CRM. This is another one we hear agents tell us, hey, I want a system that's going to really like open up my schedule and make things a lot easier. Well, it's kind of a catch-22. Like CRMs don't save you time. They build your business, but they don't necessarily save you time, right? You've got to put the effort in to putting the data into it. The CRM, no matter what system you are, and with AI coming, we can get into that. You got to spend the time putting the data in. No system's going to know Kim and where she lives, and that her dog's name is Rex, and that she likes this coffee, and you've taken her to 5 times at Starbucks to meet with her, and you've shown her 46 homes, and she's really sucking the life out of you as a buyer, right?
Right.
You've got that data there. No, I got to open the CRM and physically do it.
Right. So, I think that is a really great, and very upfront and cards on the table approach to CRMs. It's, that it's going to be effort, but, it is going to be rewarding at the end of the day to be able to have all that data, to be able to have it accessible, and specifically to be able to scale your business. So, how can Reach help an agent who wants to break through and go to the next level in their business? Let's say they've been in the business for 5 years plus.
Yeah, I think I keep going back to like systems, right? You've got to build what I find a lot of agents, myself included, without a proper process to every stage in the real estate world. So we as real estate agents, we wear many hats, right? We're running from, I don't care whether you're a first-year agent, you've been in it for 10 or 20 years. You're running from fire to fire typically, right? Somebody calls you now, it can drastically shape the rest of your day because you're having to go find a tenant information, or somebody got locked out of a house.
Yeah,
turn the podcast, change your skiing times, whatever it is, right?
Right.
We juggle so much in real estate, and then you've got your family life and your personal life. And you need a system. And so, again, with Reach, like, you can build out those checklists. I'm a huge fan of checklists. I've got friends in the food business and everything else that they rely on checklists. Somebody has to check something off that it's done. If it's not screaming at you in front of your face somewhere and you're going back to remembering things in your head, you're not systematized. Okay? You don't have a system. A system is not inside your head. System is something you're looking at. When I get a new client, what do I do? Okay, I fin track, I do this, I do that. When I get a new listing, what do you do?
Right.
A lot of agents are like, my admin will take care of that. Well, what does your admin do? I don't know. He or she will take care of it. Okay, well, do you have a system for that? No, they've been doing it for 10 years. They know what they're doing. Could you improve it? Yeah. And so even as a new agent, you're into it for 5 years. What do? Think about it. Spend an hour just writing down on a piece of paper. What do you do from day one? Hey, I meet my clients. I get the paperwork signed. I've got to upload that paperwork. Oh, I should ask them some questions. What are the seller's preferred dates? Is the microwave staying? All those things. And then you can start kind of massaging those into a formal checklist.
Right.
And so within Reach, I get a new listing. I say, launch checklist, right? It's got my 40 things. Now, I'm in Reach in my real estate world. I've got my Reach account and I have an admin that I don't necessarily see all the time, but I can delegate her certain tasks, right? So I know that after this podcast, I'm heading up to Whistler. I just got an accepted offer last night. I've launched it. I've delegated things to her. I
Right.
know that she's taking care of things. I know that there's urgent things on my checklist,
Mhm.
but I don't need to stress about it right now. I can look at it at 9 o'clock tonight when my kids go to bed and we're up in Whistler. I can start nailing off some of those tasks. Again, I don't need to think about it going, oh my God, did I get them to do this? Have I
Mhm.
notified the buyers of this? Have I told them this? Right? I always go back to those those checklists. And every time I get burned on a deal, I forgot to check the heritage registry for my
Mhm.
buyers. Oh my God, I feel so horrible. Go back into that global checklist, update it. Now, every time I get an accepted offer, I'm checking that heritage registry. Even if I don't think it is a heritage
Mhm.
home, I'm checking it. It's on my list. I need to be accountable to myself.
Right.
Check that off.
So that's incredible. So, obviously, creating an operational excellence and a way to scale your business to be able to be proactive in organizing is one really great way that a CRM program or Reach can help a really experienced agent. I think from what I've heard from a lot of the agents that are using the program now, myself included, basically from a monetary perspective, customer retention and loyalty to be able to, it's so hard to be able to gain someone's trust, list their home, and then that individual and ultimately to do a sale, it requires so much energy and effort. But then to retain that client, a lot of agents fail to be able to maintain their client relationships, and then 3 to 5 years to 7 years passes around, and they see those same clients list their properties with another agent because you hadn't contacted them. So that's something that we're trying to create a solve for here at our company, so that we can have long lasting relationships, and that's what I've heard a lot of. You know, our agents getting feedback in that area too, just from a monetary perspective. So, there's the operational elements, but there's also the retention and that aspect to it. So, let's talk about the elephant in the room, AI. So, like, how do you think is Reach going to, use some forms of AI, or are they using it now? Like, what's your
Yeah,
take
great
there?
question. And we're going to timestamp this today, and we'll see if 6 months or a
Sure.
year
Yeah.
we all guessed it right. There's no doubt that AI, from our standpoint, from Reach's standpoint, and myself as an agent, there's no question that AI is going to improve how we do things. Will my feeling, will AI replace the realtor? I don't think so. There's a lot of behind the scenes knowledge and connections and interactions that take place, more than just, hey, what's the price of this?
Mhm.
Right? AI is great at data pulling and being able to value certain things. But there's a lot of inherent value or emotional value that plays in real estate that I don't see it right now from a value standpoint of home pricing alone. But when we look at agent process, there's opportunities. Look, there's oftentimes I'll type out a really poorly grammar email and I'll dump it into ChatGPT and say, please make this more readable.
Mhm.
Right. And it's starting to learn my behaviors and learn how I write things and
Right.
better proposing emails to clients. That's like at the smallest scale.
Mhm.
What's Reach using? Look, we're looking at a number of options and opportunities in terms of workflow, right? And so, really about when you put a new contact into your database, what is the most optimal flow of communication for certain people? What is optimal for listing management,
Mhm.
and how do you can you scrape data from certain places and
Mhm.
automatically populate all this stuff? Many different avenues. Is AI again going to take it away from you having a system that you're fully hands off? No, or at least
Mhm.
Reach will not be a part of that, right? Reach is really, really built on hands-on from agent.
Mhm.
We're really, really pushing against this automation lifestyle where people want to click set and sit on a beach drinking Mai Tais.
Mhm.
I think the reality is the agents that are winning today in terms of maintaining client relationships and being able to solve really complex problems for clients, whether it's sellers and buyers, are the ones that are deeply involved and you're having to physically do things, right? Aside from a robot that's going to be sitting at a computer doing all your CRMing and knowing your brain, I think the automation of things can get wildly out of hand,
Mhm.
right? And this is kind of digressing a bit, but we're still talking about automation. I get a lot of requests for, hey, can you automate all my emails? This is a standard one. Can you automate all my emails? It's like, well, that's a big question to ask. Like, can you automate all my birthday emails? Okay, we're getting there. Okay, yes, we can possibly automate all your birthday emails, but we also require you to make sure that everybody's birthdays are correct. Because as a real estate agent, the worst thing you can do is send a client something that has nothing to do with them.
Right.
Right. And we see this at all levels of realtors, right? Garbage in, garbage out from data and results. And so automation scares us a lot because everybody seems to want the easiest solution. And that easy solution can be baked with a lot of mistakes, right? You send a client, an accepted offer, congratulations email, and they haven't even bought it with you. Clients emailing you back, or it mass sends out 100 emails because you set something up maybe slightly incorrectly in the system, right? Automation is scary. So, we are constantly monitoring and we know our user base, right? Look, some of them are high level, high achieving real estate agents and teams. We can handle that automation rate. They have really good systems in place. Some are not, right? They're getting there. They're just getting into technology, right? Having somebody like that automate their lifestyle right now is really, really room for a lot of errors.
Right.
So we're constantly juggling.
Yeah, it's there's so many controversial takes with AI, whether it's going to be a revolution or I tend to take an incremental approach, like especially when it comes to my business. I like every contact is the possibility to really drastically change your business in many ways. We all have had clients that have given us 10 plus referrals within a few years time. So I think that because it's such a...
Do you track that?
Do I track it? Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I think you have to know who your best clients are and really create a plan for those very best clients. Whether that's a combination of information, but also for me, I always like to do some experiential things. So whether that's go for lunch or a round of golf or a walk or something like that. With those really top clients, I think that's really important to kind of know who your AAA, AAA plus list is. That being said, I think is there any kind of things that you want to add about Reach or CRMs or any long-term plans for Reach?
Yeah, I think when anybody's evaluating, when any real estate agent listening to this is evaluating what system to go with, I do feel there's two types of agents out there. And we say this all the time on a demo when somebody wants to come in and test drive our system, is there are systems out there that are lead generation based CRM systems. You want to pummel a bunch of money into Facebook, get 100+ leads a week, and maybe trickle those down to 1 or 2 transactions in the next 6 months. And you want to pound those leads. Those systems are great. Majority of agents we find are over here on this side. They want to be a nurturing type of agent. I want to have my 100, 500, maybe 1,000 contacts, and I really want to stay in touch with them. I generally know who they all are. When I open up my system, I know who Derek is. He's not just some Facebook number 6, right? And so that type of agent is really how Reach is built for.
Right.
We're going to create those reminders so that you don't lose touch with that person. You're going to track the gifting process. You do a nice gift or you do a walk on the golf course or whatever it is, you're going to track that. You're going to track who that person refers you to. Treat them more than just a number and as a lead. These are clients, right? These are people that will be lifelong to you if you respect them and treat them well.
Right.
And so that's what Reach was built.
That's absolutely, that's great. And, obviously, just a reminder for you folks out there. So Oakwyn CRM is powered by Reach. So that's available for all of our Oakwyn agents, if you're part of our brokerage. And just a kind of a mini testimonial from my perspective. So when I started out in the business, I used a CRM from the beginning, and it was called Top Producer. So, and I think the only I think the only reason I chose that CRM was because it was called top producer. And I was like, I want to be a top producer, so I have to use top producer.
Just good branding.
So, and I found it absolutely exactly as Brandon said, incredibly, I don't want to besmirch other CRMs, but incredibly cumbersome, not made for our marketplace, didn't align with my business, and a lot of the templates were, weren't stylistically, presented in such a fashion where I felt comfortable to be able to send things through that system. So I always have to do a lot of workarounds and things like that. So, that being said, our team, so personally, we've been using Reach for a few years and we've tested it. Morgan and I have tested it. Through and through, and with our own sales teams to make sure that it was going to be impactful and a great resource to our agents. And that's why, we're really proud as a company to announce our affiliation with Reach, the Oakwyn CRM, so that agents can really stay operationally excellent in their businesses, be able to track history and notes on their clients, and to be able to retain their clients and customer bases in a really a valued way versus the kind of, as Brandon mentioned, kind of like not an assembly line fashion, but really a craftsman style with great user experience and great support as well. Like we've been getting, we've announced this affiliation about a month ago, and we've already had really great intake. People are really enjoying the program. Seasoned agents are giving me calls and texts on a regular basis saying, "Hey, this is great. We're really enjoying using this platform. I've used this one for so long. I've come from this tech brokerage and it wasn't effective, and now I'm moved over, and it's night and day, and I'm seeing the results." So we're really proud to be able to introduce this to our company, and we're so proud to have you, Brandon, at Oakwyn as well. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. Any final thoughts from you to our audience?
No, it's been really cool to see you and Morgan and the gang like really test driving the system, right? And you have for a year plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have the management team all using the program.
Mm-hmm.
We've like you mentioned, there's been incredible uptick. A lot of Oakwyn agents that are listening to this, I'm sure we've already done a demo and an onboarding, and
Sure.
we've talked about it. Is like we're always around to make sure that agents that are on Oakwyn CRM are utilizing it to its best potential. Right? I don't want you, if you're never going to open up the program, we don't want you. We want you to benefit from the program.
Right.
And so we're hosting webinars. We just did the lunch and learn at HQ. That was great. I think we had 50 or 60 people out asking good questions, really wanting. And it seems like right now a lot of agents want to get organized, right? I see it across the board.
That is absolutely the case. Especially in a slower market, you can be complacent and fearful, or you can work on your business and make sure that the systems are dialed in so that you're able to like take off when the market starts taking up again.
Yeah, and there's so much opportunity out there right now for organized agents. And like I say, we're around. We're available to hop on a Zoom, meet face to face, get into some of our webinars that Oakwyn's passing out on the O Weeklies. We'll, every couple weeks, we're in spring break right now. So after spring break, we'll probably have some more coming up.
Sure.
But they're great places to learn about the system, how it can apply to your business.
Right.
Raise a hand and ask a specific question, because we get really excited when people ask those questions. How does this do this?
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Brandon, for being a part of the Oakwyn podcast. And thank you all for listening to the Oakwyn podcast. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please rate us 5 out of 5 on the podcast platform you're listening to us on, and write a review. The funny thing about the reviews, Brandon.
Go on.
And I think we have, on Apple Podcasts, because I don't know how to use Google Play or whatever, or we don't have a 4-star review, we don't have a 3-star review, we don't have a 2-star review, we don't have a 1-star review. We've only had 5 stars.
People like the content.
Pretty incredible, I must say. And if you're an agent from another office that you're interested in learning more about Oakwyn, or you're a new agent going through your licensing, feel free to reach out to us at oakwyn.com/join. Type into the message box Reach CRM or Oakwyn CRM, and you'll get a free demo and also a time to meet with one of our Oakwyn leaders and a free piece of mystery swag. So till next time, guys, thanks so much for listening.
Sweet.
Great. Thanks, Brandon.